So I'm here to talk to you about the end of the world. Hello, Becky Duff here. Welcome back to my channel. I am here to talk about the last book in the Narnia series, The Last Battle by C.S. Lewis, obviously. I finished reading this in December. It is now January 17th as I'm recording this. I don't know if I just burnt myself out on recording these videos or not. And my husband is working like 11 days on, 3 off. So I haven't had a lot of time. By the time he gets home at night, I'm tired. I tried recording this a little bit earlier. The baby was screaming. Now he's on my lap, finally having a little bit of a nap. And it's just been chaotic and crazy. So I don't even know what to say about this book. There's so much you could talk about in this book. It is The Last Battle. It is literally the ending of the death of Narnia. And I didn't take any notes or anything about what to say in this. So I'm just winging it here. So I did want to read Matthew 24 verses 6 to 8. This is prophecy that's being spoken about here. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these things are the beginning of birth pains. And then they go on to continue talking about what will happen during the end times. So just reading that, does it not feel like we are in the end times? I'm not a theologian, I am not an end times expert or scriptural expert or anything like that, but the things that we have been living through in the past coming up on 8 years now, even before that, but especially just as me being an adult and being more aware of world events and stuff like that, like Donald Trump almost started like World War III. And in 2016, I've mentioned this lots before, our town was hit with a wildfire that wiped out so much of the city. And that is not uncommon here. We do get a lot of wildfires. It's just the first time that it has affected in the city, like homes and structures and stuff like that. It's normally it's just a forest fire. So we had that. We had flooding that same year. That happened in May, and then in July it flooded. And again, that is somewhat common in different areas. It rained a lot that July. It didn't rain bone dry in May and too wet in July. And then in 2020, we had the worldwide pandemic, shut everything down. And then we had here in town, the river flooded from the ice breakup for like kilometers down the river. All this ice finally melted and just flooded downtown completely. So we were in like a second state of emergency. And then just this past November, there was an earthquake in Alberta. And I grew up in Vancouver, and we did earthquake drills and stuff like that because there's like a fault line there and they're by the ocean and stuff. And I remember hearing that there's supposed to be a fairly big earthquake that is supposed to hit Vancouver. And I grew up just like being terrified of this earthquake and wishing that when I moved back to Alberta, I was like, I wish my mom would move back with me and my brother and stuff. Like, I'm just so worried about everyone dying and perishing in this earthquake. So far, that big one hasn't hit yet, but we got an earthquake here. And it didn't hit here in town. It hit about 5 hours away from here, I believe. But the like aftershocks of it were felt here. And I didn't personally feel it, but some people, my friend did. My daughter was downtown at that time. She felt it. I'm like, there was an earthquake. That is so crazy. BC and like into the States a little bit, like Washington, Seattle and stuff, they flooded 2021, I believe, like huge floods. There was also a town in BC that like burnt to the ground. Like the whole town was gone from this wildfire. Like just the number of natural disasters that are hitting close to home, not just like learning about like hurricane. My daughter likes those I Survived books, and it's like Hurricane Katrina, or there's like the tsunami that hit back in like 2000, I can't remember, and the earthquake in Haiti and stuff like that, like around the world, but also just close to home too. So the severity of that earthquake that hit here was high too. It was like, I feel like it must have been like a 6 or 7 or something. Like it was quite high up there, high enough to be felt here. Just the severity of them and the frequency of them and just where they are. I'm like, this is not the end times. I don't know what is. Anyways, I'm not here to speak about actual end times and if you think this world is ending or not. But I can give you hope through Jesus with this whole world just coming to an end as we know it. Jesus, the Bible, Scripture has promised us something better. A new world. A new heaven and a new world. I'm trying to think of it like, in here, Narnia ends, and they go to like a new Narnia. So I feel like the earth, in my opinion, from what I know, I feel like the earth is going to end, but it's not going to end. Like, God is going to take this planet that we live on and kind of like resurrect it. Make it better. Make it pure. Pure as in like perfect. The way it was meant to be when the Garden of Eden was formed, kind of thing. And there's not going to be sickness and disease and death and all that bad stuff. But it's still going to be the earth. It's just better version. And our bodies are supposed to be resurrected. Like Jesus was resurrected. We'll be the best version of ourselves physically, like health-wise and all that stuff. We won't get sick. We'll have perfect stamina, whatever, right? We'll be able to live forever. So I feel like that's what's going to happen with the earth as well. So this book talks about that. The last battle, there's actually a battle in here. And I'm pretty sure that I'm just burnt out on reading right now and listening to audiobooks and stuff. And I just kind of like glossed over the whole battle. It just was not interesting for me, I guess. So I don't actually have a lot to say about the actual battle part of this. I don't even know what the battle was about. Okay, so this book starts with what would be, in my opinion, the false prophet. There's the false prophet and the false teacher, like the Antichrist, that is supposed to come before the second coming of Jesus. And he is going to have basically some powers. Don't ask me about end time stuff. I don't know enough about it. It's a very confusing area of study with the scriptures and stuff. But there's going to be an Antichrist that comes before Jesus comes back. And he is going to obviously draw a lot of people to him. He's going to be very charismatic. People are going to want to follow this guy. The devil isn't actually going to come to you with horns and a pitchfork and a tail. Like, who's going to follow that, right? Like, obviously, there's going to be some people out there that are, like, devil worshippers, Satan worshippers, whatever. But for the most part, like, if you see this evil entity, you're going to run away from it. You're going to be scared of it. You're not going to want anything to do with it, right? The devil comes masked as an angel of light and wants to draw you in. And the Bible does talk about that there is going to be, like, the Antichrist and stuff. Like, everyone's going to be able to see him at the same time, kind of thing. So, like, TV, news, social media, things like that. Things that they did not have way back 2,000 years ago when Revelation was being written, right? And I think something is supposed to happen to the guy. He's obviously going to be like a political leader, high up, has a lot of authority kind of thing. And something's going to happen to him where he's like shot or somehow dies, I believe, or is like very severely injured. And then he's going to be healed somehow. And I don't know if it's quite like a resurrection, like he actually died and he's brought back, or just like looks like he died or he was in really critical condition, whatever it is. But it's going to be miraculous. Most people are going to see this as a miraculous healing that happens. That is going to draw people towards him versus going towards Jesus or God or whatever. I believe that stuff is supposed to happen. Like, this is in the Bible. And this starts off where you learn about there is an ape and a donkey. The ape's name is Shift and the donkey's name is Puzzle. So in the Bible, it's like the Antichrist, the false prophet. It's supposed to be like the unholy trinity. And in here you have the donkey and the ape. And there is no like third person necessarily for that. You very much get that Antichrist like feeling from it. And the ape Shift is very narcissistic, very controlling, very manipulative. And he is using Puzzle, saying that like Puzzle is too dumb. He doesn't think well. He isn't smart enough to be able to figure this stuff out. And that's why that's why Shift is doing it for him. And Puzzle's just kind of going along for the ride, and he's kind of more of a dumb animal. Like, he is a talking beast, but he's not super smart or bright. And he is being taken advantage of through Shift, but kind of like through no fault of his own. Like, Puzzle himself is not evil at all. He's just there, kind of thing, and being used by Shift. And they find this dead lion skin in a waterfall, and Puzzle has to go and like fish it out of the water and stuff. And the ape turns it into like a coat, like a costume for the donkey to wear. And so when he's wearing it, he kind of looks like a lion. And Aslan hasn't been around in a while. People haven't heard from Aslan, and people are questioning, does he even exist? And so the ape is showing the donkey around, like, having him come out of wherever they're staying, like a cave kind of thing, out of a tent or whatever, and he shows the people, and he's like, here's Aslan, here's the great lion, and then he puts him back away, and people can't really get close to him, or animals or whatever. This is what the donkey in here looks like when he has the lion costume on. And so that's like the false prophet, I think, is supposed to be the ape, and then the Antichrist, even though Puzzle is not doing this himself. Like I said, he is not directly trying to manipulate people or deceive people. The ape is just using him. And then the kids, Edmund, Peter, and Lucy, I believe, get called back into Narnia to help with this battle and everything. There is a king, Tyrion. They want to help King Tyrion. And everyone in Narnia has been deceived by Shift and Puzzle and not really believing. They're like, no, this is true, whatever he says, and they're starting to follow him and being dragged away from the truth of Aslan and Narnia. I don't even know what I want to talk about in this book. Honestly, my brain is just overwhelmed right now. There was a couple of points I wanted to make in this book, because people talk about, obviously, spoilers for the whole series, of course. Susan doesn't end up back in Narnia. And the other kids have been called back into Narnia, and everyone that you've seen from the first book, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, up until now, as Narnia is ending and the new Narnia is coming, you see all the old people. Diggory, Jill, Eustace, the old kings and queens, Edmund, Peter, Edmund, and Lucy are there. Everyone has come back together, and Susan is not there. And they talk about, like, what happened with Susan, and it's like she got too interested in worldly things, like caring about her looks, lipstick, makeup, things like that. And some people, when I was watching their reviews on Narnia, were talking about, like, oh, she doesn't get to go to Narnia because she was into lipstick and she got interested in other things. But I don't think that is quite the point. There's nothing wrong with wanting materialistic things and wanting things that, like, enhance your beauty or whatever, like hair, makeup, whatever. It's not about that thing necessarily. It's about the fact that she didn't believe in Aslan anymore. She didn't believe in Narnia anymore. It was just a fun, fancy thing to do, fanciful thing to do as a child. As they were at that professor's place while the war was going on and stuff. Now she's grown up. She's too mature for that stuff. But she's also turned to, like, a worldly perspective. She's more interested in what is going on in the world and not in what she believes is just this magical, unrealistic world, right? Like, it's not real. It's just a fantasy that they had as a kid. So it's not so much about her caring about her looks. It's that she turned away from the truth and went towards these materialistic things. And I think God gives us a lot of things in the world that are good, that are gifts, that are there for us to enjoy. And the enemy twists those things and uses them to pull us away from God, pull us away from what is good, pull us away from what is healthy. Like alcohol. There's nothing inherently wrong with alcohol. The problem is that we turn to it to soothe our emotions, to numb out. We start to drink too much and it can turn into alcoholism. And I mean, one night of going out and getting drunk and stuff like that, it might not be, like, the most wise decision, but I don't see that as necessarily sinful. It's when we turn to it every single night and drink, like, a 6, 12, 24 pack in one night. We're sitting there drinking, like, a half a bottle of hard liquor. We're sitting there drinking 2 bottles of wine every single night. And we're turning to that instead of to God, to prayer, to reading our scripture, to praying, to people that God has put in our life, like other godly friends and family and stuff that we can talk to and get wisdom and advice and stuff from, comfort from, encouragement from. It's when we turn to anything like entertainment. A bad one for me and my husband is just sitting there watching shows on Disney Plus or Netflix or YouTube or whatever, and we just not numb out, but just, like, veg out in front of the TV, and we're not connecting to each other. We're not connecting to our family. We're not connecting to God. Nothing. We're just vegging out in front of the TV and just like turning off our brains. It's when we turn to shopping. Like, I am trying so hard not to buy all the books because I have like 200 books on my shelves that are unread right now, plus an entire library I could go to for ebooks, audio, and physical books. Like, I do not need to buy another book for probably 2 to 3 years just so I can finish the books on my shelves, not including the library at all. I don't need to buy another single book, but I just so badly, like, I've had a bad day. I'm stressed out. I'm exhausted. Everything's going wrong. Everything's up in turmoil. Everything's up in the air. So much is going on, and I just want to run and buy a book. And I'll get that natural high of buying that book. Or even just buying other things that, like, I'm interested in, like yarn for... I got my my crochet that I'm working on right now. Yarn, books, bookish things like more clothes. There's a couple of things from Redbubble I want to buy. Amazon is so bad and so quick and easy. And it can even be stuff that we need in the house. Like, I've been trying to reorganize our Tupperware cupboard and getting rid of, like, I just want one set of Tupperware that's, like, not one set, but all the same brand with all the same lids and everything that match. So I'm getting rid of the stuff that doesn't match or whatever. And it's something that we need for the house, but I can overspend on the budget that week, that month, or whatever, buying things that we don't need it right now. We're okay right now, but I just want to buy it. And I'm trying to, like, first of all, I'm trying to become a little, not minimalistic, that's not the word I want to use, but I'm trying to minimize the stuff in the house and getting rid of extra inventory in the house that I don't want to deal with, that I don't have the mental capacity to deal with right now. I'm going through clothes and getting rid of stuff that has holes and stains and doesn't fit anymore, or I just simply don't like it anymore. And the kids' clothes, and getting rid of Tupperware that doesn't have matching lids or lids without matching containers. I'm trying to get rid of the art stuff that we don't need anymore. Like, my kids draw like 700 photos a day. I can't keep all 700 pictures a day. I can't keep all that stuff. My daughters are great at drawing and they produce some really nice pictures. I can't keep every single one of them. I just can't. We've gone through some old photos and stuff. I've thrown out some like wedding photos because I have them on my computer. I can print them off again anytime I want. And the frames are broken or scratched or just not nice anymore. And we did a different thing on our wall over here with different picture frames and stuff like that. So I've gotten rid of some of the other stuff, right? So I'm trying to de-stress my house, trying to make it less chaotic and less crazy. And this conversation has gone way off topic from the last battle, but my instinct is to go buy things when I am stressed out and to numb out and to... I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I don't do any of that stuff, but I want to sit in front of YouTube or Netflix or Disney or whatever, watch a bunch of shows and work on my crochet, my cross stitch, and just ignore the world, ignore my problems, ignore the mess on my table, ignore the dishes, all this stuff because I am so overwhelmed. But what I need to do is, instead of ignoring it all, is quiet myself down and get with God. That's what I need for me personally. I need to spend time in worship, in prayer, in reading the right kinds of books, and especially my Bible, reading scripture, and not running to Amazon and Chapters and other book places and the yarn store. And I'm trying to remind myself, like, it's not that books are bad. It's not that shopping is bad. It's not that treating yourself once in a while is bad, but I am doing it in the wrong kind of way. And I need to reset and focus on what is important. And I personally need to focus on God. So maybe I relate to Susan a little too much, but hoping to be a little bit more like Lucy in this book. And they get to experience Narnia. When Narnia ends, like, it's sad, right? This magical world that they've come to know and love is gone. But then they realize there is an even more beautiful Narnia coming that they have entered into, and they have died on Earth. There was a train accident. That's what pulled them into Narnia. And because they have decided that they want to stay in Narnia and that this is a better place to be, they have died. That train accident has killed them back on Earth in England. And this new Narnia, they're like running, and not getting tired. they're swimming in the water and they can swim and breathe underwater, all this stuff. And it's Narnia, but more. Narnia, but better, brighter, more vivid colors. And I just like that idea because sometimes I get a little too caught up in the world and I'm like, I don't want to die before I see the world. I want to travel so much. But like when you have the hope of heaven and seeing Jesus and God and living in eternity in heaven, I shouldn't care about going to see the Grand Canyon or Niagara Falls or traveling to Europe or Africa. I really want to go to Africa and go on a safari and see like the lions and the zebras and the not tigers, but cheetahs, elephants, all that stuff. I want to go on a safari. I'd love to go to Egypt and see the pyramids. I'd love to go back to Japan and back to Hawaii, and I want to travel the world, but I could be in heaven, like where it's perfect. This world is broken down. Flights get delayed. Flights take hours and days to get anywhere. Flights lose your luggage. Like traveling sucks. There's parts of travel like to and from places, getting there and stuff can really be stressful. And traveling itself can be stressful if you don't have the right currency, like something happens and you trying to exchange money or there's a language barrier or whatever. Like travel can be very stressful. I could be in heaven where it's perfect. But I still, God has made this world and it's beautiful. And I like that idea of heaven being this world. And I'm not here to talk about like in heaven, do we get to see like the universe outside of just Earth? Can we travel to Mars? Can we travel to the moon? Can we travel to Saturn? Can we travel to other galaxies? Like, I'm not even talking about that stuff, but just the Earth itself is so beautiful. And just thinking of like heaven being that, but better. This world, but just perfect. I like that, and I need to keep that in mind. So I think I'm going to wrap it up here. I actually have one more video that I'm doing that's kind of Narnia adjacent, so watch for that next. And I'm just kind of burnt out on reading right now. I'm just trying to read way too much, and it's the new year now, and I'm like, got like 10 books on the go. But I'm glad I finally was able to get back to the world of Narnia and reread it again through a little bit of a different lens this time. When I originally read it, I had just become a Christian. Now I've had more than a decade of experience and read it in a little bit of a slightly different order, and I listened to it mostly on audiobook, so it was a different experience. So that was fun, and I enjoyed it. Comment down below if you've read the books, what your thoughts are on them. Are you a Christian or not? I never read these as a kid. Did you read them as a kid, or did you grow up with this at all? Let me know. And thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!